The month of July is going to be one of these months where things may become a little bit intense, and that is because we have Mercury retrograde for the majority of this month in the sign of Cancer, which is where the sun is currently transiting. And when we have Mercury retrograde in the same sign where the sun is, it tends to bring a lot of themes to surface. You may also find yourself like rethinking things. You may also have a lot of clarity come to surface, and in general, you may find yourself reassessing your goals. I would say also this month, because it's going to be in the sign of Cancer, you may find yourself reassessing your family life, your home life, as well as where your emotions really are. You may have your true emotions come to light, and you may also find yourself just like reassessing your living situation, reassessing your relationship with your family members, or even who you live with, or someone like your significant other or your roommate. During this month, we will also have Mars in the sign of Gemini for the entire month. When we have Mars in the sign of Gemini during the same time as Mercury retrograde, Mars is the planet of drive, aggression. It's also how we achieve our goals. When it's in the sign of Gemini, Gemini energy is all about communications. It's all about thinking. It's all about communicating and socializing and networking. Gemini energy is also ruled by Mercury. So it's going to be coinciding with the Mercury retrograde transit. And Mars is going to really bring this major drive onto communications, thinking, also things involving public speaking, singing, anything involving communications that you can think of, that is Gemini energy. Gemini also has more of a social focus than like Virgo energy. Virgo is also ruled by Mercury, whereas like Virgo is ruled by the 6th house, which is like day-to-day routine. It's all about your coworkers. It's all about the tangible, mundane tasks that you do during the day, and also things involving like services for other people, etc. And Gemini energy rules the 3rd house. When you think about the 3rd house is all about communications, thinking, the mind, social media. It also has a lot to do with the way you think, process information, that sort of thing. So Gemini energy especially is very, very Mercurian, and it also has that major social focus. It's not so much so about like the tangible. Gemini is an air sign. So when we have Mars in the sign of Gemini, there's this major focus and drive onto communications, thinking, but there's this like major focus on doing things through thinking, through communications. And Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer is going to really have you reassess your true emotions. And so I would say in general, the best kind of like advice I can give is ensure that you are communicating efficiently during this time, and making sure that you are also maintaining your cool, because Mars is a planet of aggression. So that's another thing about Mars being in the sign of Gemini during a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer. Cancer energy is also all about your emotions. So you may find yourself having experiences during this time, or you may find yourself like wanting to communicate aggressively, that sort of thing. I would say the big thing is like maintaining your cool, maintaining your calm, and also protecting your energy. I would also say, because we have Saturn in the sign of Aries right now, and it will go retrograde on July 26th, that Aries energy, also having Neptune there, it can definitely bring up like this like aggressive mindset where it's like you want to do things, you want to accomplish things, and you may find yourself doing things through communications, and also like you may not have as much patience as you did like when Saturn was in Pisces. Pisces energy is a lot more patient, it's a lot more calm, it's a lot more cool, it's a lot more collected. Aries energy is very fast, it's very driven. Also, even though it's Saturn there, which is not necessarily an aggressive planet, it is Aries energy. Also, Neptune being in the sign of Aries, you may not necessarily have as much patience during this month, and your emotions will come to surface, and you may find yourself doing things through communications. I would also say be more patient with people this month, because in general, like no matter what their sign is, people are going to be like a little bit more aggressive than typical this month, and people are going to be thinking emotionally, basically, especially because it is Cancer season. And with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, I would say like ensure that you're protecting your boundaries and like staying like laser focused on what you're doing, and let external noise be external noise, and just kind of stay focused with what you're doing, and ensuring that you're protecting your boundaries. Because like another thing about this month is we will have the sun in the sign of Cancer. Mercury is also there. We will have a square between Saturn and Neptune and all that Cancer energy. Cancer is squared to Aries. They are both cardinal signs. So there will be this time during the month of July where we will have that square and that tension there. And while you may find yourself like having motivation to do things, it can bring intensity, it can bring tension. And the best thing to do is, again, like protect your energy, protect your boundaries. I would say last year we did have this transit happening during Cancer season. So if you think back to July 2025, we had very similar energy because while it was at the very beginning of Saturn in the sign of Aries, it wasn't so far deep within like the Aries transit. I think it was more along the lines of like around 1 to 5 degrees of Aries, whereas this year it's around like 10 to 15 degrees of Aries. We still had that happen during July 2025. So if you think back to that time, you may have had experiences during that month where things may have been like a little bit intense, or there could have been tension there. But this year, I would say because both Neptune and Saturn are in the sign of Aries, things will be a little bit more amplified than last year. And so again, like the best advice I can kind of give is make sure you're communicating effectively, and also ensure that you are maintaining your proper boundaries, because I would say like now is going to be a good time to kind of go into a cocoon. Now is going to be a good time to work on growth, work on yourself, that sort of thing. Because although there will be tension there, this month is also an opportunity to really understand your innermost emotions about things and push for your own personal growth. So tension between squares, it does create growth, and it's not always like the easiest. I think about like how the 8th house or Pluto operates, and it's like you will transform in the face of intensity, basically. So it's kind of like a similar thing. So it creates this opportunity for transformation. It creates this opportunity to be better and to grow into a much higher timeline. But again, I feel like the best thing to do is ensure that you are like maintaining your boundaries and like focusing on yourself during this month. Another thing about this month is the month of July is going to be the first month of an entire year where we will have Jupiter in the sign of Leo. And this is going to be like much more fun energy, especially in the first part of July. We will have Venus in the sign of Leo as well, whereas it will then transition into the sign of Virgo later in the month. Jupiter in the sign of Leo is going to be a lot more fun than Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. Jupiter in the sign of Cancer was totally like homebody energy, emotions, this focus on women, that sort of thing. So you may have had more focus on your family in 2025. You may have been at home a lot. You may have had a lot of homebody energy. But now when Jupiter transitions into the sign of Leo, Leo rules the 5th house. This is all about fun, play, creativity, that sort of thing. And me being a Cancer sun, like I love Leo energy. And that's like, again, coming from a Cancer sun. I had Jupiter in my sign last year. It was so much focus on homebody energy and like not necessarily the most fun themes. It's like nostalgia. It is themes of homebody energy. It's themes of family life, your goals for yourself as it relates to your living situation, that sort of thing. And really like transforming your living situation, making things better. But, you know, when Jupiter's in the sign of Leo, things become a lot more fun again. 5th house is all about creativity, play, romance, doing things that are more fun and happier. And I would say this is like a different chapter than something like Jupiter in the sign of Leo. I would also say, even though this month we will have the Sun and Mercury retrograde squared to Saturn, this is going to be easier energy than the spring, because during the spring we had Jupiter squared to Saturn and Neptune. Jupiter expands. It also kind of has that tension between Saturn. So we may not have 100% experienced the themes of Jupiter in the sign of Cancer because of that square happening. Also the fact that like when Jupiter is in the sign of Leo, it is going to be trine to Saturn in Aries. And so things are going to be a lot easier for all of us. I would say a Sun square versus a Jupiter square to Saturn is going to be a little bit easier. It's not as like amplified, basically, because again, Jupiter expands upon everything it touches. So when we have Jupiter in the sign of Cancer squared to Saturn in the sign of Aries, there is that major amplification of that tension there. But when it's in the sign of Leo, it's trine. So you may have more luck. You may have more success with the themes of Saturn in the sign of Aries this month. And in general, things are going to be a lot easier, a lot more simple, and just like things are going to start progressing forward. If you've been on a new path during Saturn in the sign of Aries, Jupiter in the sign of Leo is going to be a lot more favorable for this. Also, Venus in the sign of Leo. So this first part of the month of July, especially this first week, is going to be pretty lucky because we will have Venus in the same sign as Jupiter. And this is just like very lucky energy, essentially, especially for Leo placements. If you have any major planet in the sign of Leo, this is going to be very, very lucky in this first part of July. Another major thing to talk about this month is the fact that we will have the North Node enter the sign of Aquarius on July 26th. This is also the same day that Saturn goes retrograde. This is going to be the first time that we have the North Node in the sign of Aquarius since 2007 to 2009. And honestly, when you think back to that time, this was one of my favorite cultural time frames that we had experienced. I am definitely a huge fan of everything that happened between that time. I love 2007 to 2009 so much. And we are going to be going back into a similar energy, basically. The North Node in Aquarius is going to be amplifying the themes of Pluto. The North Node is where we're going to. It is our destiny. And Pluto in the sign of Aquarius is so intense and transformative that we are all going to have this major transformation during this time that is going to really set us on the pathway to the destiny we will be reaching come 2044. So during this time, you are going to have a lot of major focus on the house where you have Aquarius in. And these themes will continue until March 2028. So this is quite some time. This is like a year and a half of major focus on Aquarius energy. The South Node will be entering the sign of Leo as well. And so starting around October 2026 into June 2027, we will have the South Node conjunct to Jupiter in the sign of Leo within a close 10-degree conjunction. So we will experience the effects of this. And so this upcoming year that we will experience, we're going to have this transformation with how we experience Leo. This chapter we start around July 26 is going to be continuous throughout the whole year, and things will become amplified, essentially. The themes you start to experience this final week of July is going to be like majorly transformative, and you may also find yourself going in a new direction. Looking at the houses where you have Leo and Aquarius within your birth chart, this is going to be where you will have a major focus. One other thing to talk about during this month is the fact that we will have Venus in the sign of Virgo for the latter part of this month. And Venus in the sign of Virgo, you may find yourself very focused on yourself. You may find yourself focusing on the weeds or focusing on things to make things better. I feel like Virgo is a very practical and detail-oriented sign. Also Venus there, Venus is more of a benevolent planet. So when we have Venus in the sign of Virgo for like the rest of this month after it transitions from Leo into Virgo in the first part of it, you may find yourself being more focused on doing things like making your life a lot better, like reading, doing things like ensuring your routine is proper, like having a more of a proper routine, taking care of your health, taking care of your body. And I would also say it's going to be a little bit more favorable energy because it's not necessarily going to be really squared to anything during this time. We will have Mars in the sign of Gemini, but it's going to be quite far from it because Mars in the sign of Gemini, it's only going to be in that sign until like August 11th. So that's going to be like the final degrees of Gemini. When we have Venus in the sign of Virgo, it's going to be the first degree. So it's going to be quite far from each other. And it's going to be relatively favorable, I would also say, because it will be like in positive aspect to Mercury in the sign of Cancer, as well as the Sun in the sign of Cancer. So I would say like this is going to be an amazing time to start a new project. If you have to do anything that's detailed or communications oriented, Venus in the sign of Virgo is going to be more favorable for it. So how will you experience the month of July? I'm going to go ahead and go through all the signs so you can gain the entire picture of how this month will affect you. If you're an Aries, this month is going to have a major focus on your home life, home body energy, and in general, you may find yourself also starting to have a lot more fun. In this upcoming year, you may find yourself more focused on partying, groups of people, social media, social networking, and creating and being a creative in general. You may also find yourself just really reaching towards this destiny of serving the masses, serving large groups of people, and either doing things where it's like you communicate to large groups of people, or you may find yourself like doing things where you are like serving them in some capacity. You may also find yourself starting to attend more concerts or parties or large group events during this time. This month is also going to be a lot more fun. This is going to be one of the best months you've had for your love life in quite some time. And so the more situations you put yourself in, the more likely you're going to have like a new romance begin or something very favorable happen romantically for you. So this month is going to be amazing for your love life. It's going to be really, really good socially as well. And I would also say you may find yourself traveling around your local area more, or like also doing things where you are going to a party with like your friend who lives close to you, or like something along those lines where it's like more local travel during this month. And definitely with all the Cancer energy we'll have, you may find yourself really reassessing your emotions. You'll definitely really have more of this focus on home life and your emotions than the other signs, but you may also find yourself really growing from this and having transformation that will really have you put on the pathway forward where you're supposed to be on. I would say with Jupiter in the sign of Leo and Venus in the the sign of Leo at the beginning of this month, you may find yourself focused on a creative project, and honestly, all creativity is kind of rooted in emotions. So you may find yourself seeing a lot of success with something. You may also be more emotionally intuitive as well. That will lead to more success as it relates to relationships, creative projects, and so on. If you're a Taurus this month, you may find yourself more focused on social media, communications projects. And you may also find yourself having a lot of motivation to begin something like a podcast, a YouTube channel, a book. You may find yourself having a lot of motivation to begin new things. And especially with the major focus on Aquarius that we will have, you may find yourself really beginning to transform your career, your public image, and getting more autonomy with what you do. Because like you could have worked like more of like a 9-to-5 job before. You may have found yourself like having a lot of intensity with like your work situation. And if you still are in that type of situation, this month you may start to see transformation, especially when the North Node enters the sign of Aquarius. You are going to be having this major powerful transformation with how you approach your long-term career and your public image. So you may find yourself having this transformation starting this month, especially around the 26th, because we will have so much focus on the sign of Gemini, because Uranus will be in that sign, as well as Mars, putting this major drive and focus onto creating multiple streams of income for yourself and becoming more financially stable. I would also say you may have more drive to really like learn a new skill, start a new project, do something tangible that will lead to more financial success. This is going to be the month where you have a lot of motivation to do that, and things are going to start progressing forward. I would say like this month in general, you will begin having many new ideas, and this month is going to really also begin this new chapter where you're going to be transforming how you earn a living. And again, with Uranus in the sign of Gemini, this is going to have you really want to create multiple streams of income. Even if one of those streams of income isn't necessarily like conventional or traditional, Uranus is kind of like the curveball of the planets. So you may find yourself doing something unconventional as it relates to earning a living, making money, being financially stable, being financially successful. I would also say with Jupiter in the sign of Leo this month and Venus there as well, you may find yourself really rethinking your home life situation. You may also begin having lucky events where you change where you live. Like you may find yourself like moving to a different state, moving to a different country, changing apartments. And because it's Jupiter, you may find yourself working to acquire your dream living situation, your dream housing situation, your dream apartment, your dream house. So this month you will have this major focus on those themes, but luck will arrive at the same time. You may also find yourself like more connected with astrology or more connected with spirituality during this time, especially with all the focus on Aries. You may find yourself more focused on this. And during this time, you may also seek seclusion, and in order to become successful, you may find yourself having to do something like starting your own business or starting more of an autonomous career in order to get there. If you're a Gemini during the month of July, you may find yourself having a major glow up and major transformation with how you present yourself, as well as having a lot of motivation to exercise, eat clean. Mars in your sign is going to bring this major motivation for self-improvement and just really doing things to transform your life for the better. You may also find that this month you'll have this major focus on your self-confidence. This could be doing things to have yourself feel more self-confident, like perhaps you go to the gym, you eat clean, you do something with your hair, your wardrobe, the way you present yourself in some capacity. And this month you may also learn a new skill that will lead to more financial success. This month will have this major focus on themes involving self-confidence, skill building, as well as your income streams. So you may find yourself becoming more financially successful this month. You may receive a raise at work, you may receive a new job opportunity, or you may also just find yourself just attracting other people's resources very easily this month. And with all the focus on Aries that we will have, you may find yourself being more of a socialite this month. You may find yourself wanting to attend parties, concerts, social events, that sort of thing. And in general, seeing your networks beginning to grow and expand. You may also have new opportunities where people may open doors for you for networking or having fun, going to parties, that sort of thing. And now is going to be a time where you start attracting new sorts of people into your life. These may be creative people, these may be artists or musicians or people who are creative in some capacity, or perhaps they're connected with the spiritual world as well. You may find that these new people will enter your life and your social networks will have this major period of transformation. I would say also you may find yourself traveling more around your local area. You may also have more motivation to post on social media as well with Jupiter in the sign of Leo. You will find a lot of transformation with your daily life, your daily routine. Also, as we get into the latter part of this month, you may begin to have some major focus on being at home more frequently. So think local travel or being at home, posting on social media, that sort of thing. But then seeing like a transformation with your social networks, all of that sort of stuff. So you may find yourself attracting people into your life during this time and seeing your social networks beginning to grow and expand. But there will be this focus on homebody energy as well and kind of staying within your local area. And there may be travel opportunities that start presenting themselves at the latter part of this month, especially with the North Node entering the sign of Aquarius. So you may find yourself having an opportunity to travel somewhere. This could be a concert, a party. This could be like a social event or a exclusive event, that sort of thing. But doors of opportunity will begin to open travel-wise closer to July 26th and August. If you're a Cancer, the month of July is going to be a very transformational month, especially because you will have Mercury retrograde in your sign, as well as the Sun transiting your sign. This is also going to be around the time of your solar return. So the themes you experience this month are going to be very important for setting the stage for the rest of this year. So I would say definitely look at your solar return chart this month, especially to kind of look and see how this year is going to start to play out. But this month in general, you may find yourself really pushing for transformation, pushing for growth. With Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries, you may be more focused on creative projects and your public image and your career. You may also find yourself very focused on themes involving like increasing your finances, being more meticulous with how you earn a living, creating multiple streams of income, becoming more financially stable and financially successful. I would also say that you may find yourself having this major transformation with what you create. So if you are creative in some way, you may find that with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, as well as the North Node entering that sign on July 26th, you'll begin to create differently. You will begin to create things in a different sense, in a different way. You may do things that are different from what you had been previously doing in prior years when Pluto was in the sign of Capricorn. Things may be a little bit different, and it will definitely be taking on even like more like just different tonalities. But what you create during this month is going to be kind of setting the stage for more financial success during this year, as this year is going to be one of your more financially successful years, basically, because Jupiter will be in the sign of Leo, and we will also have Venus in the sign of Leo in the beginning of this month. You may find yourself more financially successful. It's also very possible that as you develop projects, you may learn new skills, and in general, see a lot of success this month as it relates to things involving your finances and your career and your public image. This is going to be a very transformational month for you. And with Mars in the sign of Gemini this month, you may seek more alone time, and this could be definitely like alone time in order to work on a project or work on something that will lead to more financial success. So you may have something like that during this time as well. If you're a Leo, the month of July is going to be your major turning point. It's like this is going to be a month where Jupiter is finally in your sign, and also Venus is in your sign for the first part of this month. So things are going to be starting to turn in your favor. I would say with the Sun and Mercury retrograde still in the sign of Cancer for this month, it's like you will still have to do a little bit of work this month. It won't be so linear. You may find yourself really reassessing all of these teachings and findings that you've had since 2025, when we had such a major focus on Cancer and Pisces energy. But this is going to be like the wrap up. This is like the final part of all of those themes. This is like the final chapter, essentially. You're going to have a lot of like completion with themes that you've been experiencing since 2025 and even 2023. Things are going to start to become better. You're going to have this completion with these themes. Mercury retrograde is going to have you finish all of the spiritual work that you had been doing. It's going to have you finish all of the shadow work. It's going to have you finish all of the stuff that you had been working on for many years. Then with Jupiter in the sign of Leo this month, it's like you're going to be ready to move into this next chapter where you are going to be in the spotlight. You're going to start attracting many people into your life, and you're going to start to see this transformation with your social circles, essentially. With Uranus in the sign of Gemini, Mars in the sign of Gemini, you may start to have this major focus on growing and expanding your social circles, and also just in general seeing major transformation with them. That this month is going to be the start of an entire year where you're going to get lucky, things are going to get better. I would also say you may also have some major financial elevation in the latter part of this month when Venus enters the sign of Virgo. So you will have more success this month, and this month is still this time frame where you will be putting in all the work and you'll be putting in a lot of time and effort. but things will become rewarded. I would also say with all of the focus on the sign of Aries, you may find yourself traveling or wanting to travel this month, which will again kind of further perpetuate this new chapter you'll be going in, which will have you feel a lot more self-confident. Doors of opportunity will open and your life is about to transform in a very positive way. But all the time and effort you put in this month to have all of this completion with Cancer energy and Cancer themes, you are going to be like prepared for what happens starting in August until this time 2027. If you're a Virgo, the month of July is going to be a month where you may find yourself seeking some seclusion. I would also say with Jupiter transiting the sign of Leo, you may find yourself wanting more alone time. However, with the focus on having your alone time, you may also have some like lucky things happening. You may become more connected with spirituality. You may focus more on astrology. You may also learn new spiritual skills and gifts during this time. I would also say with all of the focus we have on Aries, you may see some major transformation with how you approach occult themes, spiritual themes, that sort of thing. I would also say that this month, with having Uranus in the sign of Gemini and Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, you will begin to see this major transformation with your work life as well as like who you're connecting with. This month will have a major focus on networking. So there could be this major focus on growing and expanding your social circles, your networks, your professional networks, so you can reach new clients, so you can attract new people into your life, new business partners, people who you tangibly work with. And you'll see this transformation happening with your career and public image. You may find yourself wanting to do more entrepreneurship or have more autonomy with what you do. You may also have more of a focus on things involving like services for other people. And this can totally take on a number of different tonalities. When we think about services to other people, this could literally be like consulting. This could be being like a nail tech. This could be being like a photographer. There are many different ways that you can interpret services to other people. And in general, Uranus transiting the sign of Gemini with Mars there, you may find yourself very focused on your career during this time. And it's like, yes, you may find yourself focused on spirituality, but you may also kind of look towards astrology to kind of navigate your day-to-day life, that sort of thing. But this month is going to be very transformational as it relates to your career, your public image, as well as things involving like other people's resources. So this month you may begin to kind of set the groundwork to really begin a very successful business, or you may also find yourself taking out a business loan or doing something in order to finance your business or support it in some capacity. So you may experience these themes during this month as well, and growing and expanding both your social and your professional networks and kind of rethinking how you've been doing that previously so you can enter a new chapter where you'll attract the right people into your life and you'll be more successful. If you're a Libra during this month, you may find yourself having some major transformation with your career and public image. We are going to have a major focus on the sign of Cancer, especially Mercury Retrograde in that sign. You may find yourself rethinking what you had been doing previously, especially for the past 15 years. We've had so much focus on Pisces, and for the first time this month, starting on July 26th, we will not have a single planet in the sign of Pisces. And all of that energy is now in Aries or Aquarius. And for you, this is like creativity for you. This is relationships. And with Jupiter entering the sign of Leo, you may find yourself growing and expanding your social circles and also thinking about how to serve large groups of people. Also, if you are posting on social media or sharing content, you may begin to see your reach really exponentially increase. Leo energy for you, it's all about large groups of people. It's all about serving the masses. It's all about your audiences, your networks, the people who you serve tangibly, and also the people who really like you. So you're going to have this shift from like services to other people onto entertaining those people and creating really long-lasting connections, and even having relationships with people who you may have not necessarily met in real life. In general, this month, you may find yourself having this transformation with how you approach your work life, and also rethinking what you had been doing previously and transitioning into more of like this autonomous role where you're not necessarily doing a tangible service for other people, but instead entertaining them or creating something for them that they can tangibly access. I would also say with the North Node entering the sign of Aquarius this month, you may find yourself having this major transformation with what you create, how you create, and reaching your destiny between this month and March 2028, where you really see your destiny when it comes to creativity, entertainment, fun, joy, romance, that sort of thing. And especially with Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries, you may start attracting new people into your life. You may also find yourself attracting long-lasting connections and people who really like you for you. You will also have this transformation with like who you connect with tangibly day to day. And I would also say because you will not have a single planet in the sign of Pisces for the first time in like 15 years. So all this focus you had on services to other people or selling your services or anything like that, it's going to be now all about connection and all about entertainment and creativity and being a star versus like doing things in a way where you were like helping other people with your services or performing a service. And this can be interpreted in a number of different ways. And with Jupiter in the sign of Leo, this is going to be a month where things begin to kind of really take off and also really begin to grow and expand. I would say that with Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer, this is also like reassessing your career, reassessing your public image, and rethinking things from what you had done previously. And when we reach August and really the latter part of this month, you'll be in a different headspace and you'll begin thinking about things in a completely different light than what you had even experienced in the spring of 2026. If you're a Scorpio, the month of July is going to be your major turning point with your career and with your public image. And that is because we have Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries, as well as Jupiter finally being in the sign of Leo. And for you, this is all about your day-to-day routine, your coworkers, what you tangibly do for work. And when Jupiter's in the sign of Leo, this is going to be growing and expanding your public image, your managerial skills, your managerial or leadership role, being an authority figure for people. This could be receiving a major promotion at work. This could be starting your own business. This could be doing something where you are then the authority, then you are then the leader. You may also find yourself seeing more success. This could be receiving a major raise. This could be receiving a promotion. And I would also say with all the focus on Cancer, you may find yourself having to go back to school, achieve a higher degree. This could be an MBA, a doctorate, something along those lines that will further progress your career to give you more accreditation, more credentials. It's also very possible that you could have to learn a new skill. So when you think about all the focus on Cancer, as well as like Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer, you may find yourself having to incorporate higher education into your lifestyle. You may have to, again, like take night school or something in order to be able to achieve what you want to achieve at work. It could also be like they want to give you a promotion, but you have to get an MBA, that type of stuff. It's like you may find yourself having to go back and get a higher education degree or something along those lines to get those credentials. You may also find yourself having to incorporate travel into your lifestyle. So you may find yourself entering a position where travel is required. You may need to travel on business trips. You may have to go places in order to either get a promotion, in order to receive a higher salary, or perhaps it's just required for your job. Like you may need to travel for work in some capacity. And this is going to be the month where you start having these themes come to light. So this is going to be the month where you're like, okay, hold on, I need to go back to school to get this MBA, this higher education degree in order to receive this promotion. It's like, I'm going to be receiving it, I'm going to be getting it, and I'm going to be lucky and successful, but I have to do that in order to have the credentials and the accreditation in order to get there. And this month, you may also find that Saturn in the sign of Aries will have you in a situation where you may have to do that. It might be required with like, again, like receiving a higher education degree or travel or something along those lines. This month, you will also begin to have this major transformation with your home life. So you may get married, you may have kids. You may also do something where you change living situations, or perhaps you have something change with your home life as well. Perhaps you decide to become single. Perhaps you get a divorce. Perhaps you have something happen like that. There's going to be some major transformation with your actual housing, your home life, your family. And because Pluto is there, this is like transformation. So there is going to be a transformation happening. Perhaps you get a house in a different part of the state, and then you have to travel for work, and then you have an apartment near your office, and then you travel back and forth between your home and your office. You may have something like that happening, especially because like with Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer, and this is Cancer season we're talking about, you will have this transformation with like how you live. Pluto is going to transform things, and themes involving travel as well. You will also be reaching your destiny with your home life during this next year and a half. So think transformation, think change, and how you actually experience your home life and your family. If you're a Sagittarius, the month of July is going to have this major focus on transformation, other people's resources, and psychology. You may find yourself really rethinking how you tap into other people's resources. Perhaps you have more of a sales job, or perhaps you are somebody who works on commission, or perhaps you do sales for other people as part of your job. You may find yourself having this major focus on other people's resources, or perhaps you may find yourself like receiving a major inheritance this month, or receiving a major tax rebate, something along those lines, where you are going to have this major transformation with those themes. You may also find yourself really understanding occult themes. This could be developing skills with astrology, or perhaps you really begin to understand psychology and study it. There's going to be this theme of understanding how people operate, how people think, how people see the world, and also how you interpret all of that. So you may find yourself having these themes during this time. I would also say with the major focus on Gemini and Aries we will have this month, you are going to have a lot of focus on your interpersonal relationships, your one-on-one relationships, connecting with other people on a personal level, and also having fun. So you may find yourself like going to parties this month, you may find yourself having fun. But again, with the focus on Cancer, I would say maintain your boundaries, because Cancer energy for you can be a little intense. With Jupiter in the sign of Leo, you may find yourself traveling as well, or like traveling different places that you haven't necessarily been before, or perhaps you go places that will open doors of opportunity, or maybe even you go back to school. Although I would definitely say this could be more traveling for an event, a party, a social event, because of all the focus we will have on Aries as well as Gemini. This month is also going to be amazing for you romantically, because it's like with Mars in the sign of Gemini this month, as well as Uranus there, you may find yourself attracting people into your life who are very decisive about you. They're like, I want you and nobody else. And you may also find things will happen very suddenly, very fast. Also, the fact that you may attract unique individuals, you may see your type transforming, like if you have a very specific type of person you are into, you may find yourself kind of evolving that. Like perhaps you start liking different types of people or different types of romantic partners, or you start becoming attracted to someone who is unique, eccentric, different, or just very unique from what your family members would consider attractive, or like what your friends think are attractive, that sort of thing. So you may find yourself being attracted to more of these eccentric, different, unique types. You may also find yourself becoming a little bit more rebellious in love as well, because Uranus is going to be in the sign of Gemini. So you may find yourself getting into relationships that are unconventional. You may have unique relationships, and things will happen fast. I would also say like Mars in the sign of Gemini, things will really pick up the pace as it relates to romance, your love life, that sort of thing. And during this month, again, like travel is going to be a major theme. You may find yourself going different places. You could travel with a romantic partner. You may also have somebody who you travel with during this time as well. If you're a Capricorn, the month of July for you is going to put this major focus on your love life and romance. Since 2025, you were in the #1 chapter of your love life. You could have entered a new relationship. You could have gotten married. You could have gotten engaged. And you're going to have this major focus on reassessing your relationship. Does that relationship work best for you? Is that what you really want long term? Is that who you really want to be with? You may also find yourself like rethinking things and having truth come to light. You may find yourself being like, well, hold on, maybe I want to be single. Maybe I shouldn't necessarily marry this person or get into a long-term relationship with them. You may find yourself also having like people from your past return into your life this month. And you may find yourself like really growing as it relates to how you experience romance, how you experience love, and what works best for you. You may have a reality check with romance. You might be like, oh, well, hold on, I need to be single, or like, I don't know if I want to get married to this person if you're engaged to somebody. You may have cognitive dissonance with something involving a relationship, or in general, you may just really rethink things as it relates to romance, your relationships, your love life, and in general, like have an awareness of what you really want, especially Mercury retrograde there. This is going to have you rethink romance, rethink your love life, that sort of thing. And especially with Mars in the sign of Gemini and having Uranus there, your day-to-day routine may change, your work life may change. And this could also have this thing about your relationships as well, where you need to go back and rethink what you're doing. Like, do you want a long-term relationship with that person? Do you really want to marry that person? That sort of thing. And you may also see your lifestyle begin to shift and change as well. So you may find yourself having this focus on wanting to have the best lifestyle for yourself, wanting to have the best situation possible with your significant other, and that could be reassessing the relationship as a whole. I would also say your home life is going to have a major spotlight on it with Saturn in the sign of Aries. So this could definitely be solidifying your living situation or having a karmic new beginning with it. You could find yourself living by yourself or living with a significant other, living with somebody else, or whatever themes you experience during this month, it's going to have a long-term effect on your living situation, your family life, and your home life. I would also say with Jupiter in the sign of Leo during this time, you may have some major transformation. I would say protect your energy, protect your boundaries during this year, because Jupiter in the sign of Leo for you may bring things bubble up to surface. You may have intensity, you may have intense moments. And while this is going to be amazing for you financially, I would say protect your energy, protect your boundaries during this time, because you may find yourself having experiences that may create intensity that you will then transform from. You may also become better at things involving spirituality. You may learn a new skill. You may learn how to read birth charts, synastry charts, that sort of thing. If we're talking about astrology, or this could also be another spiritual school of thought. You may find yourself experiencing these themes during this time and having this major focus on them as well. And so during this month, when you're having Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer, now is also just a really good time to really think about what works best for you and protect your boundaries and your energy. If you're an Aquarius, the month of July is going to have a major focus on self-improvement, your health, your daily routine, and the things you do every single day that will contribute to your lifestyle and your general wellness and your well-being. So you may find yourself having experiences this month where you might want to exercise more, take better care of your health, eat clean, do things that will really elevate yourself and really have this major focus on self-improvement. This month is also going to be the beginning of an entire year where you will have this major focus on your love life. This is going to be one of the best times romantically for you that you will be experiencing within the next 12 years. Jupiter in the sign of Leo is amazing for you romantically. I would also say you're going to be experiencing like this next chapter of your life where you're going to be it. You're going to be very desirable. People are going to very much desire you during this time. And with Uranus in the sign of Gemini, this is like you're going to be attracting unconventional, unique people into your life, but you are going to be very desired. People are going to want to be with you, or they're going to want to be like you. I would also say this is going to be amplified with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, which is your sign, and the North Node entering your sign in the latter part of this month, starting on July 26th. Others are going to find you very influential. You may find yourself becoming influential for fashion, hair, makeup, or even creating things for others where it involves appearance in some way. You may change your career into something that involves beauty or involves fashion or involves makeup, hair, nails, that sort of thing. And you may also find yourself just becoming very influential with it. Like others may find you to be very influential with how you style yourself, how you present yourself. With the focus you will have on romance, your love life, having fun, and your social life, this is like transformation with these themes, with you becoming like the star essentially. I would also say that like with Saturn in the sign of Aries, you may find yourself wanting to post on social media, travel around your local area, that sort of thing. And the more situations you put yourself in, the more likely you're going to be entering a new romantic relationship. But I would say because of the focus you'll have on Gemini and Leo, be sure to protect your energy and protect your boundaries. If you're a Pisces during the month of July, you'll be having a lot more fun. Things are going to be getting so much better and your life is going to be improving. You're going to feel very happy this month. The sun in the sign of Cancer is going to be illuminating what brings you the most joy, your hobbies, the things that have you feel very happy. And you may also find yourself like really rethinking your previous creative projects or your romantic partners, your previous romances, even things involving like partying, having fun. You may find yourself really rethinking how you had been living the previous year when we had Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. Since about this time, 2025, you may find yourself rethinking these themes and also really thinking about yourself as it relates to your skills, the things that bring you joy, and the things that bring you the most self-confidence at the same time. You may find yourself learning and developing a new skill or focusing on something that will have you be more tangibly successful financially. You may find yourself wanting to start a business, start a side hustle that will really expand upon and grow your ability to earn a living. You may find yourself starting multiple streams of income or creating a business around your spiritual gifts or creativity as well, with Neptune in the sign of Aries and also Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. And when the North Node enters the sign of Aquarius starting July 26th, you may find yourself having this focus on spirituality, creativity, and creating things where you can become successful from that, and having more autonomy with what you do as well. And while you may seek alone time during this time, you are very likely to become very financially successful, especially because Saturn in the sign of Aries with Neptune in the sign of Aries. During this month, you will start to have this like transition from like having fun, partying, and creating into focused on your health, your well-being, having fun in a way that can really support your career. You may also find yourself starting a business and having no limit to what you can do. You may find yourself starting a business and really working very frequently, but ensuring that you maintain your work-life balance is going to be key here. Like making sure that you are actually working a set amount of hours, making sure that you are not working too much, you are working enough, and you're not doing too much in general. Like maintaining your boundaries, maintaining a work-life balance is going to be key in this upcoming year. Because when you have a major focus on Leo like this, especially Jupiter there, things are going to be like very lucky with your career. You're going to start to have doors open. You may find yourself getting invited places, or you may have like experiences with your work life that were just very lucky and are unique. And maintaining a work-life balance and maintaining your boundaries with your work life is going to be very key during this time. So you're not doing too much, you're doing just enough. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more.